Hi everybody. Today we're going to be talking about Illustrator. And we're going to talk a lot about just kind of how it all works, and we're also going to take a look at some of the very beginning tools. So I want to get out of where I am over here, and let me just click out of here, some posters and things that I had done. And I just kind of want to talk a little bit about where I'm just going to move my screen up a little bit, how you can get into Illustrator. So one of the first things you want to do is see, you can see at the very top of my screen, this is the Creative Cloud for Adobe. So if you've downloaded Illustrator already, you should be able to see this Creative Cloud. So if I click on this, I get this file. All right. And it's going to right away talk to me about what's new. There's all kinds of stuff happening on with the Cloud Pro and all these other things. We're going to skip that for now, and we're just going to get right into here. You can see that on the left-hand side, we've got some different areas that we could do. So it's telling me right now that I need 3 updates. I can go ahead and open that up and see what they are, and it tells me, oh, I have an Adobe update in Illustrator. So I'm not going to do that right at this minute, because if I do that right now, what's going to happen is we're going to be sitting here for a long time while it updates. So we're going to just kind of go back in. We're also going to note that you'll see that I have, again, another notice here that says update available. It also shows me what version of Illustrator I'm using. So we can see here we have 28.78 and 29.51, and obviously we know that there's another version. Notice I also have multiple versions of InDesign. Why do I do that? Well, I do that for a couple reasons. When you're working with different publishers and different bookmakers or different designers that have different apps out there, when Adobe creates an update, that information is then disseminated, and these other people that use Adobe Illustrator have to pay for that code. And so they don't always have the update ready when when the update's made in Adobe. So in other words, if I'm working on something and I go to publish it or print it somewhere and they say, oh no, there's a problem with that, we don't accept that, I can go back to what I call a legacy file. So I can go back to this version. You'll notice here that if I click on the side, you can see other versions. So these 3 bars over here, the more bars, or 3 dots, those really give us a lot of information, right? So we can learn more about the information. We can see what other versions are. And let's say I had 4 of these and I'm really not using some of those really older versions. I can come in here and uninstall them. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what that's all about. The other piece is that you can open directly from here. So this is where I prefer you to open. There's categories, and you can see that there's other things in here. So for example, tutorials. So as a student, you have the access to come in here and look at some of the Adobe tutorials as we're waiting for it to load. Everything's got lag time. But if I just go right to Illustrator, it's nice because then it walks me through a bunch of different things. So like, say for example, you're going to decide you're going to do t-shirts somewhere and you want to learn about screen printing. So here's Adobe telling you exactly how to do that. Different projects, generative AI, all the things. So that's kind of nice with the student version, is that you get a lot of this stuff. You can also go in by skill level, how to get started in the program, shapes, color, text, and you'll see that all of this is available to you. So, I definitely think it's great for you to be able to, access that stuff. I'm going to move that out of my way. Okay. But for now, I just want to open it. So when I open it, what we see here is I've got some options. And actually, if I close this all together, so I'm just going to actually quit Illustrator because it was still open from before. So I want you to see what that looks like. So if I quit it and I start from the beginning, I'm going to go here to open. Now I'm going to get a different look. So this tells me what version I'm in. And there is kind of some of the stuff I worked on before. And then over here, I can go to open, and it says, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to open something you've already made? No, I want to start new. So I'm going to go to new file. So when I click on new file, I get this dialog box. And this dialog box gives me a lot of information. So here I can see recent items that I've created. And if I've made things that don't fit into one of their presets, so notice at the top we have recent, we have saved, we have mobile. So if I click on mobile, notice everything changes. So let's say I'm doing some designs for an iPhone. I'm making an app. Let's say I'm making something on the web and I need a certain size, right? It's all in here. If I want to go to print, here it is. Here's European A4. Here's letter size. Notice everything is in points. Yeah, so that's the default. So if I want to change that, all I have to do is come over to the right-hand side and click this little arrow, and I can go to inches. So now I would be at what the actual inches are. Notice it doesn't convert over here. That's because Adobe keeps everything in points. Branding, if I want to do ads for a newspaper, something like that. Social media, this is newer and this is great. And obviously I don't even have my latest updates, so there's even more. And here you can see Instagram, if I'm going to make something for that, for Facebook, for Pinterest, LinkedIn, and so on and so on. And then it also has templates. So these are things that you can use and you can just fill them in. Now these are a little complicated if you don't know the program because they're going to come in layers as well as different artboards. So I always say, you may want to hold off on these a little bit until you know the program a little better. Then there's art and illustration. So here again, we're in points like postcards, posters, that kind of thing. So if you're going to do a poster for something in the hall. Film and video. Let's say you're making some graphics that eventually you want to bring into a different program like After Effects, and you want to make them move. Well, you can build them all here, and there's templates, and then when you get into After Effects, you can make them all move. So it's really quite fun. And then here's our different versions, depending on what you're building them for. And then free templates. These are all their free templates. So there's, and obviously they always want to have you buy something. So we're going to go back to here and we are going to go to print for this particular project that we're working on. And we're going to put it back into inches. And this is so important because I cannot tell you how many times students have basically left this in points like this and then said, oh, that's not right. It's supposed to be 8.5 by 11. So they go 8.5 and then, they change this to 11, right? Now look at this is points. So if I change these points now that I just changed to 8.5 and I change it to inches, look at how small they are. And then they're like, I don't know what's wrong with my program, with my file. It's so tiny. And it's like, yeah, because you changed this, but you hadn't changed this. So now we're going to go back and we're going to put it to the right size, 8.5 by 11 inches. All right, there we go. Hit return, and there's our file. All right, so this is what our basic interface looks like. You'll notice that there's little dividers. They're kind of hard to see, but there's little dividers for some of these. And you also notice that unlike Photoshop, if some of you have worked in Photoshop, that we don't have two, foreground, background colors. What we have is a fill. So this is called our fill, and this is our stroke. And the other thing that's really nice about Illustrator is that, and most of the Adobe products, is that if you just sort of hover over the tool, it tells you the name of the tool. So there it says it's a selection tool. It also tells you what the fast key is for that tool. And I want you to learn the fast keys because the fast keys are going to save you time and money. So the fast key for this is letter V. So as soon as you hit the letter V, well, it sort of automatically defaults to this. So let's go to the next one just so you can see it. So that one is the direct selection. First one is the selection tool. So that selects an entire object. So let's say you created an object and now you want to move them. You would use the letter V. If you use the letter A for this tool, so let's just hover. I don't want to be on it. I just want to hover. Then this is the direct selection tool. So, having to understand like what the vectors mean, what they mean is that it's a mathematical equation for whatever shape you've got. And on that equation, there are points. And those points are those little white squares. And as you can see, as the little illustration from Adobe is moving it around, it also has handlebars. So those handlebars change the curvature of that shape. So see how it changes that sail. And then those points, you can tell when they're selected because they're no longer white. They then will be filled with blue. So the other thing that I want to talk about with Illustrator and all the Adobe products is that whenever you see a little white triangle like this underneath it, see that little triangle? There's another one there, another one there. That means there's more tools underneath. So if I click hard on this, it shows me those tools. So what I'm doing now by clicking hard is I'm clicking and holding my thumb down on my trackpad so that I can see what tools are underneath. Now if I flip to this one, it's going to have a little plus sign. And basically what that's doing is it will, every time I click it, it will continue to find all the objects made in whatever succession you've made them in. So it's a little bit of a complicated tool for now. We'll stay with the regular direct selection. This is the magic wand tool. This will automatically click all your points and highlight them. This is the lasso tool. And this will grab a whole section of things, right? Even if they're not grouped. This is the pen tool. And the pen tool is kind of an older tool. It's probably one of the first tools that Illustrator had. And we're going to learn this tool because this is the basis for all the other tools. So if you know this tool, you will understand all the other tools. So let's go ahead and grab that tool. And right now we have a fill that's white. I'm just for the heck of it, I'm going to change the color of that fill. So all I have to do is double click it and it brings up my tool selector, like my color selector. So you'll notice here that there's these little areas. So see how it says HSB? That means hue, saturation, and brightness. Underneath that is RGB, which means red, green, and blue, and or CMYK. Notice the CMYK does not have any dots next to them. So if I change this to saturation, I will only see the grayscale, right? So it shows me that I'm all the way up to here. If I go to the hue, that's the color. So notice that I get the rainbow. So if let's say I pick this color right here, and now I take these sliders and I move them, notice that my little circle stays in the same spot. But now I'm changing it to all the different colors available in that spot. Also notice on the top is the color I've chosen. Now, let's go ahead and move this. And actually, let's move it down here more into the middle tones. And now, actually, no, I didn't want to do that. So what I have to do is, I'm sorry, my bad. So what I have to do is say, okay. And now if I double click it again, notice that now they're both colored with that color. Now if I move this, it gives me a comparison. That's what I was going for. Sorry about that. I want to show you the comparison. So now if I go to middle gray, like kind of in the middle here in the saturation. So if I hit saturation, it shows me where I'm at in that gray area, right? If I go to red, green, and blue, you get this. Now these are hard to work with. I tell my students the best thing to do is to stay into hue, saturation, brightness. It basically shows you all of the stuff in one area. So here, if I go all the way this way, up into this corner, I'm going to get white. If I go to the middle, and notice that there's no hue in there because I've moved all the saturation out. So if I go over here, I would get my middle gray. If I go down here, I'm going to get black. If I go right in the center, I'm going to get this color, this violet, I'm going to get it mixed with white and black, which is going to give me this color here. So if I go all the way to this side, I'm going to get more black than I am, see, because I'll have a higher saturation. So let's look at the numbers. So notice that my hue color is 290, right? So if I click back to here, it's still 290. See that? That did not change at all. Now, if I go over here, notice that it's still 290, but because I didn't move this is what's changing. That's the number of the color. If I go here, it's telling me your saturation is at 54%. So that means I'm only getting 54% of this color into my mix. If I go here, it tells me the brightness. So that's the white to gray to black. So it's telling me I'm at 49%. So see what I'm saying about trying to be kind of right in the middle? If I go to 50, it didn't really move my circle much, but now, whoops, I didn't want that. I wanted to be at 50%. Oh, it took it. So let's double click back. And it's still kind of coming at 49. I don't know why. I have to be up slightly. There, maybe. There it is. So see how as I kind of scooched it more, I wasn't quite in the center. If I wanted to be at a complete perfect 50% here, I'd have to come over a little bit more. Oops. And so on. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because down the road, you're going to want to make sure that you have these exact swatches. And there's different ways to do it, but I always think it's important for students especially to kind of remember these numbers. So in any event, we'll just let's leave it a little brighter and we'll say, okay. So that's what we're going to be working with. So now notice I'm on the pen tool. So if I wanted to go back to my selection tool, I hit the letter V. Notice it automatically changed in my toolbar. And I can drag my toolbar off. I like doing that because I like having it close to where I'm working. That's just me. You don't have to, but I just feel it's more comfortable not to be scrolling with my wrist all the way over there. So if I hit the letter A, notice that my arrow is now hollow because I'm on direct select. If I hit the letter P, I'm back to pen. And also notice that there is an asterisk right next to my pen tool. See that asterisk? That means there's no points. I haven't done anything yet. So if I click this once and I drag over and I hold my shift key, it'll make a perfectly straight line. So now if I come back up here and click it again, it'll be perfectly straight. So see what's happening? It's trying to fill it in with my fill. Also, there's these smart guides. And these smart guides are really cool because they show me that now I'm lined up. So now if I come down and I will close this. So now I have an object, right? All right, let's do another one. And this time we're just going to do a line. So I'm just going to click, hold my shift key, and click. Okay, and now I'm going to go to my letter V for selection. So now it shows me, if I click here, I have, see how I have this little bounding box? These are not my points. This is my whole bounding box. I can increase or decrease the size of this, right? But notice how it stays in the same relationship. But now I'm going to go and alter it, right? So I'm just playing with these points. I mean, with the bounding box. Same thing goes for here. So if I'm in my selection tool and I want to make this go in a different orientation, I can do that. If I hold my shift key, it'll go at perfect 45s, right? So now I've got a line and I have a shape. Okay, so let's say I just want to mess with the points on this. Well, if I click on this one, notice now that I don't have those little circles in the middle. So let's go back to the other version, V. So there you can see I have these kind of bounding box points. Like if I click on this, see how I have bounding box points? Watch what happens. See, I'm making this kind of fatter because I have a stroke, right? This isn't a great way to do this. The best way to mess with this stroke to make it bigger is to go up here and you can see how it changed it to 1.299. So if you want to get this stroke to be a very specific number, you can do that by pulling, but also you have the presets. So if I wanted to make it 10, oh, look at it now. Now it's big. And see how I'm making it bigger and bigger and bigger? This is not a shape. This is still a line. So there's two different ways to think about the way vectors work. You know, we'll call this a line, but really it's called a path. So what does it take to make a path? 2 points. So if I go back to my pen tool and I go click here, hold my shift key, make it straight, it remembers the stroke that I was in. But notice how I don't, whoops, let me stop that. Notice how when I'm in my pen tool, if I go back to my pen tool, that I don't see the stroke up here. I do see it though. Let me close some of these things out. And also, I haven't talked a lot about workspace, so I'll do that in a second. But there is a place where I can see it, and that's in my properties. So there it shows me how fat my stroke is. It's pretty fat. And that's because I stretched it manually. So if I want to go back to the original 1 point, I can do that there. It also tells me what color my fill is in the appearances. So that's like important stuff. You've got a couple. One thing about Adobe is as they add on tools and things, they have things in multiple places, right? So that's a real thing. So that will lead me to kind of talk a little bit about the workspace. So up here at the top, you're going to notice there's a bunch of stuff. So we start with Illustrator. That's your program. Here's your settings for Illustrator. We'll get into this a little bit more in a little bit. This is your file. So new from a template, open recent, close, and so on, right? A lot of these are self-explanatory. Notice these guys? Those are your fast keys. So Command N or Control N if you're on a PC is going to open a new file. Shift Command N will open a new template. Command O will go to open whatever you've got recent. If you go to recent, it actually sits here and tells me every file in the last like 12 files that I made. Close, Command W, close all. That's, I forget what this guy is. Anyways, save, Command S, Shift Command S for save as. So those are really important things. And also save as a copy. Okay. And then, you know, there's object or edit. So what are you going to edit? You know, you can copy. So it's just like a word processor. So if you want to cut it, it's Command X. If you want to copy it, Command C. You want to paste it, Command V. So these are really easy things to remember. Okay. You have an undo, Command Z. The thing about Illustrator and now Photoshop too is that you have unlimited Command Zs. So if you really mess something up, just keep going Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. It'll take you back to the beginning, right? Object. So you have two things. You have a path and you have an object. So object is this guy, the one that we made the first time around, because it's closed. So this is a path that's closed. So if I click on it, it's, you know, if I go here, I can see that these points are not open. Remember when I was building it? So here I'll go like this, and then like that. See how this doesn't have the black line? That's because it's open. This is still a path. It's trying to be an object because that's what Illustrator does. Back in the day, they never did that. You had to like fill it with this paint tool. And in some ways, this was kind of annoying. But like now, if I wanted to come over here, notice that when I come over here to this last point, I get a little O next to my pen. See that little O down there? That means that I'm turning this path into an object. So if I click on it, I now have an object, right? This is very important for building characters because you're going to need to know that you have the difference between an object and a path. Okay. If I want to change the color of this path, all I have to do is click on it, double click here, and let's just go down and look at it. Shows me right in the thing. It's like live. I can just change it. Very cool. And so these are kind of the basics. So let's get into this one. So let's get in. We haven't talked about the direct selection tool. So the direct selection tool is very different than the selection tool. in that it doesn't just grab the whole thing. It only grabs the particular points that you want to grab. So if I hit the letter A again, I can see here's my point. So I'm going to click off and I'm just going to roll over. See how they're white? So there's only 4 points that I made. There's not, ones in between. And if I click on one of them, I can distort this. See that? I can move this around to be whatever I want it to be. And if I don't like it, I can hit Command Z. It'll take me back to every move that I stopped at. Notice that when I first, okay, let's go back. Now when I first hit this, if I click on the center, that I get these little round circles. These circles are going to round my edges all together. Look at that. So I rounded them all together. Now it's showing me I can't round it anymore. That's it. See how it got red? Now if I pull it back, I can pull it all the way back to the outside. Now they're no longer round. If I click off and click on one point, I only get one round area. So I can change my shape that way. Okay. The other thing that I can do, and this is in the pen tool. So if I click on the pen tool and hold, notice that I have an anchor point tool. So my anchor point tool allows me to manually move, and let's kind of zoom into this area. So the zoom tool is down here. I'm going to zoom in. It allows me to manually move these anchor points. Now, if the anchor point is pushed all the way into the point, right? I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong language and I want to be correct. If the handlebar, this is the handlebar, if it goes all the way into the point, the anchor point, that side will be flat. It'll be square. So it's not showing me any curve. The longer I pull the handlebar, the more the curve is at the 50% line. It still affects the curve down here to coming to the next anchor point. So what that means is that Illustrator is a quadratic program. That means that it every between 2 points is divided in half. So it's like, this is going to change from here to here. And then it also affects this. The shorter I make this curve, you'll notice that the curve really only starts happening kind of at the top there. But it still is coming out a little bit. See that? So this is how, the longer, and then if I pull it up, now watch what happens here. Let's zoom up a little bit. So if I pull the anchor point up, the handlebar up, oh, I lost my handlebar, there it is. If I pull it up, notice I'm starting to get a curve where the beginning of, and see how I can bring it right in there. So, this is how you make shapes, like all kinds of shapes. Boom. So, Command 0 takes me back out. I've moved some points, so there's all of that. So that's kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of how these particular tools work. So the only tools that we're really going to be concerned with right in the very beginning are and the other thing you can do is you can delete a point. So if I click again and I click hold, and you see how that I have a plus sign or the minus sign. So here's an interesting thing. Let's zoom over here for the pen tool. We'll be on the pen tool. Let's just be on the regular pen tool. And notice when I roll over the line where the path is, see how I get a plus sign? So if I click on that, I've just added a point. Now if I roll over the top of that point, see how I get a minus sign? If I click on that, I've deleted that point. So let's say I want to have some extra points in here. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to click. And I'm going to hit my A tool, or my direct selection tool. And now notice that I have different ways to make shapes. So if I click off, and then I click on the whole thing, see how this one has a curve on the outside? Yeah. So you can really make some interesting things happen. Now, let's Command Z. Now, if I click off and I just click on this point, I only get the one curve. So now everything else is sharp except for that one curve. All right. So the tools that we're going to work with today are the selection tool, letter V, the direct selection tool, letter A, the pen tool, and now the type tool. All right, so we're going to grab everything on our page. Let's zoom out, and we're going to delete it all. And we're going to put in our letters. So the first thing I want you to do is look at all the stuff. So here's our properties panel. Let's move it over by us. Notice it's on Myriad Pro. Now you need to be in Helvetica unless you're on a, and we want Helvetica Bold. And why do we want Helvetica Bold? Because it's going to help us with this project. That's why. So we really want that bold. So let me just get it back here and click on it. Why is it not giving to me? What is wrong with you? Let me go ahead and type tool. Oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. All right, so I have it. And yeah. Oh, there it is. Now it's showing up. Okay. So now I'm going to type in my initials. So my initials are T-A-K. And I kind of gave a space between each one. So notice that my bounding box goes around the whole thing. Let's zoom into this. Okay. Also notice that there's a space under here in my bounding box. That's because this is type. So if I click on this, everything moves together. I can't unlock this. This is type. So this is actually, you know, it's connected together. I can't, if I go to my direct selection tool, notice that I don't really get any points here. There's no points. So, I mean, I'm going to zoom all the way in. See how perfectly square that and nice and sharp that is? But see, if I click on it, there is no points. There's no points here. So I want to manipulate these letters and move them around. And I want to make them into a logo, and I might want to make some of them round and all these other things. So that means that I have to move them out. They can't be type. They have to be an object. So I'm going to turn these into objects. So I'm going to go up here to type, because that's what they still are. And then I'm going to go to create outlines right here. So that's Shift Command 0 or Shift Control O. Okay. Oh, now look at my bounding box. I don't have that space underneath. And when I click on it, I have all my tools. So now I can do this, whatever. Notice how everything is doing it? That's because when you turn, now I typed this all on one line. So when you turn type that's all on one line into an object, which we just did, it's grouped. So what does group mean? Oh boy, here we are, another thing. If I go up to object, or actually, where is my group? Edit. So if I go to group, oh, I have to highlight it. My bad. I'm so stupid here. If I go into object, which is where I thought, so if you go into object, you'll notice that it has ungroup all. So that would be Shift Command G. So let's go ahead and do that. Ungroup all. Now if I click, notice I get one letter. So now I can move that letter around. So now see what I'm doing? I'm actually creating some shapes in here. Look at that. So the idea for this project is that I want you, when you finish it for your monogram, I want you to be able to see more shape than letter. So I don't want to just for you to just read the letter. I want you to be able to see this in a design way. So I want you to have shapes take over the hierarchy, meaning shapes are going to be more prevalent. So let's zoom all the way out. Command 0 takes you to 0 zoom. Oh my gosh, look how little that is. And now all I have to do is hold my shift key, grab a corner, because I grabbed them all by going all the way around them. They're still divided. They're still not together, right? They're still... So if I go like this, I can grab them all, but they're not grouped. So if I group them, that means I can't alter them individually. and that's not what I want. But if I grab all of them like this, and then I grab my direct selection tool, now let's say I want to round all these corners. So see how I did it all at once? I'm not loving that. So I'm going to take it back. But let's say I grab this guy out and I just grab these points. Okay, now I've done a different thing, right? So if I take this guy and I grab just those points, I always have to click off. See how I'm starting to create different shapes in here? Just grabbing that single one. Okay, so now I'm having a little bit more fun. I think I would do this one too. All right. So now I say, okay, you know what? I kind of like this. So I'm going to copy this. Command C. Let's bring it up here. And then I'm going to paste it. Command V. Now I still haven't grouped them, but I'm going to group this one now. So how do I group it? I'm going to go back to Object and just hit Group, or Command G. So Command G is your group tool. So now that one's grouped together. So if anytime I hit it, I'm going to get it all, and it's not going to disrupt it. Now notice I can distort it. Don't distort it. That's a bad thing to do. We never want to distort. We always want to, I mean, unless you really need to distort it just for the shape, but in this case, we don't want to. So now if I, wanted to, I could, start rebuilding all this again. But let's say I want to change just the position of everything. Like, I don't know if I'm loving this. Let's say I don't want that capital. I want a small letter A. So I'm going to go ahead here and it should remember that I was in Helvetica Bold, and yes, it did. And so now I'm going to hit the letter A without a capitalization. I'm going to increase it by, see my bounding box. And when I pull out, if I hold my shift key or I drag over here, actually we don't want that. Sorry, my bad. I'm getting confused. Let's go back. All right. We're just going to grab the whole thing. Okay. If I just grab in the corner here and hold my shift key, I can increase the size of that letter. So see how that had some, like the Helvetica had some rounded things in there? So now let's see what I can do. I think I want that bigger. But don't forget, what is it? Oh, it's still a letter. How do I know? Because it's got this space underneath. Because if you had sentences and you put these letters one on top of the other, then you wouldn't be able to read them. So this is part of how type works, right? In vector. All right, so let's go ahead. What do we have to do? Oh, let's do it again. We're going to go to type because it's not an object yet. Oh, we went to object first, so we know it's not an object. It's create outlines. Now we can increase its size. So I'm going to hold my shift key and I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to bring that in. I want to get rid of that little part of the, see, I'm trying to figure out, yeah, maybe like, there we go. Almost there. There. That's what I want. So see what I did there? So now I have this kind of fun shape with my letter that could work as a logo. So let's go and grab our direct selection tool and let's round some of this stuff out. Maybe. I'm going to have to do it individually. Not too much. This one let me do it. There we go. Oh, and I still have this corner. There we go. Two very different looking logos. Now I'm going to grab the whole thing using my selection tool. So again, I moved over here to the toolbar. I didn't really need to do that. I could have just hit my letter V, grab it all, and hit Command G. Now I've grouped it. Now I can hold my Shift key. Let's say I want to turn it on its side. Oh my goodness. Oh, look how crooked it is. Wow, I don't like that. So how do I keep it straight? I have to use my Shift key. So then it goes in perfect 45s. So now let's go ahead and bring that down. So now I'm starting to really lose the letters. I'm not really reading them. But maybe we can make it even more interesting. Let's create another shape. So now we have these shape tools. So there's like the rectangle. Notice there's a triangle underneath. If I hold down on my trackpad onto the letter by pressing hard, I can see all the different shapes. So let's get this rounded rectangle tool. So if I grab the rounded rectangle tool, notice that when I changed my type, when I changed it to an object, it also changed my fill and my stroke. So my fill and my stroke are no longer purple and black, right? Now I have no stroke and I only have the fill because that's what the type had. But if I want to reverse that, all I have to do is hit this nice little swing arrow, or I can just hit the letter X. So when I hit the letter X, I should be able to get it to flip. And I can change the width, the stroke width. So I can go here, maybe let's go to 10. And then also I can change it. So let's go ahead and sort of make this fit right around my letter shapes. Oh yeah. So that's looking pretty fun. Okay. So now I'm going to group the whole thing. Command G. And I'm going to flip it back the way it was, holding my Shift key. And now I have a kind of fun little logo. The last part of this project is we are going to put our name in here. Right. So then it depends, like, so where are you going to, oh, and there's another thing I'm going to show you right now, because if I don't show it to you, I think you'll probably find it and get like, oh my gosh, what just happened? So if I double click this, notice that these letters got gray. And over here in my layers palette, it says, oh, I'm in isolation mode. So where's the layers palette? It's over here under Windows, right? And if I don't want to be in isolation mode, I can double click it again. And now it goes back to my layer. So notice that all of these are on the same layer. All right. So if I double click my isolation mode, I can change things without ungrouping it. So if I want this stroke to be a lot bigger, let's say I want it to be 18. So now it's fatter. So there, I can double click it now. And now it goes, see it's a little thicker. So now I can say, okay, I'm going to put my name in here. So I'm going to go ahead and write my name. And it's in alphabetical, Dr. Teresa and Kenny. Okay. What if I don't want it in bold? I want you to keep it in Helvetica, but maybe I don't want it in bold. So let's go back here and change it from bold to light. Oh, look at that. And then let's change the color of it to white. Okay. And now let's go ahead. Oh, it's gone. No, it's not. There it is. And now let's go up here and drop it in. Or maybe we're going to put it right here. And I go, I'd like it to reach almost to the edge of that K. So now I'm going to hold my Shift key and drag it out. And just sort of fit it right in there very nicely. And now I've made a little monogram for myself. Let's say I don't want it there. Well, we could, so here's the thing. See how this is, I know this is a lot, but I just want to show you. So see how this is highlighted right now? Notice that this little blue box came up. Let's click off. Notice the box is gone. So I'm going to make that again. So I'm going to make a new layer. So if I go here at the bottom, there's a plus sign, or I can go to the hamburger or the more bars, and I can say new layer. And this layer will be a red bounding box. We'll say okay. I can drag this blue one right up to the red one, and now that's my layer, right? So let's make another new layer, and let's copy this. Command C, go to my new layer, and go Command V. Now I have it here twice. So let's go ahead and go and say, what if I do this horizontally? What would that look like? I don't know if I like it that way. Maybe I'll go diagonal. I like the diagonal. Okay. So now if I turn this layer off, I can just see how it looks with this layer. And then if I want to turn this one off, I can see it without it. And I can make another layer. And I can maybe try it a different way. Right? Now I can see where I kind of don't like it this way, because it's like this line is being interrupted with the tops of the letters. So maybe I want to move it down a little bit, or maybe I want to move it way up. Or maybe I say, I don't like the top at all. I think I'm just going to bring it right back down here and make it smaller. So I'm going to hold my Shift key and drag it in. Okay, so that's the kind of down and dirty of this. It's pretty easy stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. When you're done, you're going to need to save it. So let's go through the process of that. So we're going to go to Save As. And this always is going to happen to you. And this is very important, because what I find is that it automatically, Adobe will save it to the Creative Cloud. You don't want to do that. You want to put it on your own computer, because then if you work on a different computer or whatever, you just want to have it somewhere where you know where it is. So if you have a jump drive, put it on the jump drive. You don't want it on their server, because eventually they're going to charge you for that space. So you don't want to do that. You want to have it somewhere where you want it. So I like putting my things in iCloud. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to look for the course that we're in. And here's the Monogram logo course. And I can, and notice over here at the bottom it says Format, and it's in AI. So I will save one. I'll say Test Monogram logo, because it's, it could be either. And I will just save it right here. So now it says, okay, how do you want me to save it? And I will say, fine, leave it like this, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to change any of these things. This is the Adobe Illustrator file. So it'll say the name, and it'll say .ai. Now for me, when you hand this in for homework, you are going to need to do it a different way. So you're going to do Save As again. So you'll have two versions. And we're going to go to Save on my computer, and it'll come right back up to where it just saved it. So see how it is right there? .ai. And this time I'm going to change this to Adobe PDF. Right there. Portable document file. Click. And when we hit Save, notice that we have a different dialog box, because now it's saving it as a PDF. And you can save it as a high quality print, but what we're going to do is we're going to save it as the smallest file size down here. And then we're going to say Save PDF and say OK. So now if I go, let's just go hit Save As again, and on my computer, and notice that there's my logo, and there it says .pdf. That's the one that you're going to hand in to me. Why are we doing? Well, there's lots of reasons. Because it doesn't have the lag time. I can look at the project a lot faster for grading and giving you feedback to tell you if it's good or it's not, things you might need to change. And then the other piece is that, let's say you're working with a client and you have built this, but they don't have Illustrator. But you don't want to give them your master file because they haven't paid you yet. So you just want to give them a little picture. That's what you're doing there. You're basically giving them a snapshot of what you've done. So we'll cancel out of that for now. you need to have a minimum of 4 of these, right? Now, and you can make them smaller so they sort of fit on the page. You can make them bigger again later, when you get to your final. And we'll talk about that more in another video. But for now, this will be your rough draft. I want you to play with these letters. You can put shapes around them. You can have them go vertical. You can have them go horizontal. It's really up to you. You can use a mix of, capital letters and lowercase letters. The only requirements that I have are 2. They have to be in Helvetica. So let me write that down here. They need to be in Helvetica, bold, for your objects, or if you are on a PC, they need to be an Arial bold for your objects. Now, your name can be in any of the Helvetica or Arial styles. All right, that's it. I love you guys. I love giving you these lectures. I hope this all pulled it together for you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And that's till next time.